When 200 white scientists at NASA couldn't solve the Mars fuel problem, Dr. Malik Jefferson, a systematically excluded black astrophysicist, solved it alone. The supervisor who tried to fire him lost his job, while Malik became known as the man who made the greatest discovery in space history. Welcome to Stories of Black Lives. Before we dive into these powerful stories of respect, justice, and hope, please let us know in the comments which country you're watching from and your age. If you want to see more stories like this, hit the subscribe button. Please don't forget to like our video. NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas faced the biggest space crisis in history in October 2023. The rocket fuel calculations critical for the first manned mission to Mars had completely collapsed. The world's brightest 200 scientists had been working day and night for 6 months, but none had succeeded. The $50 billion Mars 2025 mission was on the verge of cancellation. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson had slammed his fist on the table during an emergency meeting. "If this project fails, America's space leadership ends," he had said angrily. China and Russia were accelerating their own Mars programs. Time was running out. Right in the middle of this crisis, 34-year-old Dr. Malik Jefferson was working alone in his corner office in Building 31. An NIT graduate with a doctorate in astrophysics and 2 master's degrees, he was a brilliant scientist. But throughout his 6-year career at NASA, he had been systematically excluded, humiliated, and had his ideas stolen. Now he was trying to solve the problem everyone else couldn't, alone in his excluded corner. Malik's story began in one of Detroit's poorest neighborhoods, Corktown. When he was born in 1989, his father, Jerome Jefferson, worked on the assembly line at General Motors. He would wake up at 5:30 every morning and go to the factory at 6. His mother, Denise, worked 3 different cleaning jobs day and night to support their family. In the morning at the hospital, afternoons in offices, evenings at restaurants. The small house the family lived in constantly had problems. The electricity would sometimes cut out, hot water rarely ran, and the heater wouldn't work in winter. Malik would do his homework at the kitchen table, sometimes by candlelight. Most of their neighbors were unemployed, the streets weren't safe, and hope was scarce. But Jerome and Denise dreamed of a different future for their son. "This neighborhood doesn't define you," Denise would tell little Malik. "Whatever you become, you'll get out of here." Jerome made the biggest sacrifice of his life when he bought a second-hand telescope when his son was 6 years old. He had paid 1/3 of his salary for that old, scratched lens telescope. His wife Denise had been angry at first. "We could have bought winter boots for the child with that money," she had said. But Jerome was determined. "Son," he had said that night, placing his hand on Malik's shoulder, "we may be poor materially, but our dreams are rich. When you grow up, maybe you'll touch the stars. This telescope will be your door." That telescope completely changed Malik's world. The first night he went up on the roof and saw the red glow of Mars, his heart began beating rapidly. "Dad, is that place real?" he had asked in amazement. "Of course it's real, son, and maybe one day you'll go there." While other kids played basketball on the street, Malik spent hours on the roof watching planets. He counted the moon's craters, tracked Venus's brightness, but focused most on Mars. That red dot was a source of endless curiosity for him. "Mom, can humans really live on Mars?" he had asked at age 8, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. "I don't know, sweetheart," Denise had said in a tired but hopeful voice. "But maybe when you grow up, you'll teach us all." Those words were etched into Malik's mind. He no longer just watched Mars, he borrowed space books from the library and read science magazines. His teachers had noticed his potential, but environmental opportunities were extremely limited. His elementary school teacher, Mrs. Thompson, had discovered Malik's mathematical talent. "This child is special," she had told the principal, "but with the facilities here, his talent might be wasted." She gave him extra homework and paid special attention. Malik handled these easily. In middle school, science teacher Mr. Davis noticed Malik's physics talent. He allowed him to take old physics books home and had him do simple experiments. "You have the potential to become a scientist," he said one day, "but you'll need to work very hard." In high school, Malik was a real phenomenon. At East Detroit High School, He was the only black student in physics and math classes, but undisputedly the brightest. His SAT scores were 1580, near perfect. He had never received a B. His teacher, Mrs. Patricia Williams, an experienced math teacher with 30 years of experience, was the first person to recognize his extraordinary abilities. "This child is very special," she had told Principal Mr. Roberts in a serious meeting. "I haven't seen such talent in my 40-year career, but if he stays here, he'll be wasted. We must direct him to big universities. Otherwise, we'll lose him." Mrs. Williams fought a personal battle for Malik's university applications. She would call him to her house on weekends, helping him fill out scholarship forms. She wrote reference letters and corrected his essays. In the evenings, she would have Malik solve advanced physics problems at her own home, and on weekends she would take him to college prep courses. "You're very special, Malik," Mrs. Williams would say, "but be ready. As a student of color in the big world, you'll face challenges. Talent isn't enough. You also need to be very strong. They'll systematically question you." Malik was learning racial realities for the first time. His white classmates were comfortably preparing for university, with their families guiding them. Malik had to learn everything himself. SAT courses were expensive. He couldn't afford them. He studied from old books. But he was determined. He studied 6 hours every day in the library. He solved math problems and read physics theories. They didn't have internet at home, so he did research at school. While his friends socialized, he worked for the future. In his senior year of high school, he became state champion in a math competition, second in the physics Olympiad. Acceptance letters started coming from the University of Michigan, MIT, and Stanford. Each one included scholarship offers. "Which school should I choose, Mrs. Williams?" he had asked one day. "Choose MIT," she had said determinedly. "Choose the hardest one. You can handle it." When the full scholarship offer came from the University of Michigan in 2007, his family celebrated. Malik had made MIT his first choice, but Michigan seemed safer. It was close to home. Family could support him. When he first set foot on campus, he experienced a big shock. Most students had come in private cars, wearing expensive clothes. They had the latest laptops and tablets. Their families had come to settle them into dorms and had gone shopping. Malik had come with an old bag and second-hand clothes. He didn't have a laptop. His phones were basic. The first week, he felt completely lost. His classmates came from private schools, knew Latin, and played musical instruments. On the first day in physics class, the professor had asked a difficult problem. Malik answered. It was correct. Some students in the class gave surprised looks, as if they weren't expecting it. "Are you really a physics major?" a blonde student named Brad had asked. "It seems too hard for me. Maybe engineering technology would be more suitable for you." Malik understood the message beneath this question. In study groups, they wouldn't listen to his ideas, systematically excluding him from project sharing. "You do note-taking, will handle problem-solving," they would say. But Malik didn't give up. By studying day and night in the library and solving extra problems, he became class valedictorian. In his second year, he met someone who would change his life, Professor Dr. Rebecca Martinez. Dr. Martinez was of Latin origin, an experienced academic who deeply understood the difficulties of minority students. Seeing Malik's potential, she began active mentoring. "Malik," Dr. Martinez had said one afternoon in her office, "you have the potential to become a world-class astrophysicist, but be realistic. You'll face very big challenges on this path. Being talented isn't enough. You also need to have a warrior spirit. This system will test you." Dr. Martinez was right. In the following years, he was constantly pushed to the background in laboratory work. During group projects, they would say, "You do data collection, we'll handle analysis." When Malik objected, he would get the answer, "We're more experienced, trust us." In his junior year, a major incident occurred. The group leader had stolen an experimental method. Malik developed and filed a patent application in his own name. When Malik reported the situation to the professor, it was said, "This is teamwork. Everyone has a contribution." That night, Malik called his mother and cried, "Mom, maybe they're right. Maybe I don't belong here." "No, son," Denise had said determinedly. "You didn't get there easily. You'll fight." This isn't just for you, but for those who will come after you. When he graduated from the physics department magna cum laude in 2011, his father Jerome's tears wouldn't stop. "I couldn't finish high school," he had whispered to his wife. "But my son is graduating first from university." Malik's real goal was bigger, working at NASA. For this, he needed to study at one of the world's best schools. He applied to MIT and was accepted. The astrophysics master's program he started in Cambridge was a completely different challenge. At MIT, there were only 3 black students in a class of 60. On the first day, he experienced a big shock. Professor Williams had looked at the class and said in a cold tone, "Some of you came here through diversity quotas. But MIT isn't a charity. Those who don't work will be ruthlessly eliminated." His eyes had turned directly to Malik and the other minority students. From that moment on, Malik felt he had to constantly prove himself. He had to be perfect in every exam, every project. Because one mistake would be attributed to his entire race. This pressure exhausted him, but also made him stronger. In laboratory work, he experienced complete discrimination. The group leader constantly gave him simple tasks. "You do equipment setup, we'll handle theoretical work," he had said. When Malik objected, he got the answer, "We're more experienced, trust us." But Malik didn't give up. He worked until late at night, doing extra projects. In his second year, he began specializing in Mars atmospheric dynamics. He was developing groundbreaking theories, especially in rocket fuel optimization. During this period, he found his second life, changing mentor Dr. Sarah Chen, a young, Asian-origin professor who had also experienced the difficulties of being a minority. Seeing Malik's potential, she began showing special interest. To be successful in this field, being smart isn't enough. Dr. Chen had said one afternoon, "You need to be extremely resilient, because they'll constantly question you. You'll have to prove you're right at every step." Since he was very successful in the master's program, he earned the right to transfer directly to the doctoral program. During his doctorate, Malik's true genius emerged. His thesis topic was Mars atmospheric entry dynamics and fuel optimization. This topic was critical for NASA's future Mars missions and was a complex field that very few experts worked on. His thesis advisor, Prof. David Kumar, was very skeptical at first. "These calculations are very complex. Are you sure you're proceeding on the right path?" he would constantly ask. He didn't trust Malik, constantly approaching with suspicion. During the 4-year doctoral process, he made incredible discoveries. He found mathematical errors in traditional fuel calculations that no one had noticed. He developed revolutionary theories on how fuel consumption could be optimized during Mars atmospheric entry. His first major discovery was related to atmospheric density variations. Current models modeled Mars's atmosphere as static, but Malik proved that dynamic models were necessary. His second discovery was related to propulsion efficiency. Traditional calculations were wrong. Prof. Kumar's attitude began to change. Malik's results were so impressive and mathematically perfect that his doubts decreased. "This is really brilliant work, Malik," he had said, appreciating for the first time. During his doctorate, he published 15 scientific articles. He gave presentations at international conferences. He began to be recognized as a Mars atmosphere expert. His work began to attract the attention of scientists at NASA. When he finished his doctorate in 2017, he won MIT's Best Doctoral Thesis award. He was the youngest and second black student to receive this award. His family was at the ceremony. His mother, Denise, was crying. "Now I have a real doctor son," she was saying proudly. When he applied to NASA, he received invitations for 18 different positions. The Mars Mission Planning Department at Johnson Space Center in Houston made the most attractive offer. The salary was perfect, the position was exciting, and the work area was exactly his field of expertise. Dr. Malik Jefferson started working at NASA in January 2018. The first day was the moment his childhood dreams came true. When he pinned on his NASA badge, he thought, "Now I'm a real rocket scientist." When he entered the big building, that was the place he had dreamed of since childhood. When he called his mother to give her the news, Denise was crying on the phone, repeating, "My God, my son works at NASA." Jerome was so proud that he told the neighbors. Everyone knew now, but real life wasn't at all what he expected. The head of the Mars Mission Planning Department was a man named Dr. Richard Sterling, 55 years old, white, a legendary figure who had been working at NASA since the Apollo program. Sterling's career at NASA was truly legendary. He had started as a junior engineer on the Apollo 11 mission, working with Neil Armstrong. He had taken critical roles in the Space Shuttle program, redesigning safety systems after the Challenger disaster. He had made important contributions to the International Space Station project. Throughout his 30-year career, he was one of the untouchable figures at NASA. In the first meeting, Sterling's approach to Malik was cold and distant. "Young man," he had said in a patronizing tone, "things here aren't like university classes. We do real rocket science. Your theoretical knowledge might not work here. You need to learn our methods first." This tone deeply disturbed Malik, but he didn't react. He thought he would prove himself by working. In his first project, Malik developed a method that could revolutionize Mars' atmospheric entry calculations. This approach, which was the application of his doctoral work at MIT, could increase fuel efficiency by 25%. This was a great discovery. When he presented it to Sterling, he got a cold rejection. "We've been doing this work for 50 years. Sterling had said, "You're still a rookie, learn our methods first. These fancy university theories don't work here." Malik continued working silently. But Sterling's behavior was getting worse. He wouldn't invite him to important meetings, would reject his reports without reading them, and would exclude him from critical projects. Other engineers in the department could see the situation, but no one said anything. The hierarchy at NASA was very rigid, and opposing Sterling could end careers. Everyone minded their own business. In 2019, Sterling's true intention emerged. Sterling rejected Malik's brilliant fuel efficiency formula that he had developed for months as not practical. This formula could significantly reduce fuel consumption during Mars travel. But 2 months later, when the same formula was presented by his white colleague, Dr. Michael Patterson, it was accepted with applause. Patterson had stolen Malik's formula, only changing a few variables. "This is a brilliant approach, Michael," Sterling had said proudly in the meeting. "This is exactly the innovation we're looking for. We're thinking of promoting you." Malik was shocked. His own formula had been stolen, and credit was given entirely to someone else. After the meeting, when he reported the situation to Sterling, he got the answer. It could be a coincidence. Similar ideas can emerge in science. This was just the beginning. For the next 3 years, systematic theft occurred. Malik's propulsion calculations, atmospheric entry models, fuel optimization algorithms, his white colleagues stole them all and presented them under their own names. Malik complained every time, but nothing changed. The Human Resources Department said they couldn't prove it. Management dismissed it as teamwork. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, one of the senior engineers in the department, secretly approached Malik one day. "Malik, I know you have problems with Sterling, but be careful, he's very powerful here. He worked on the Apollo program. Everyone respects him. Be patient, things will improve over time." But things didn't improve. In 2021, Sterling's behavior reached its peak. 200 people were invited to NASA's biggest Mars meeting in history. All engineers, scientists, and project managers from the department were called. But Malik wasn't invited. "This is high-level strategic planning," Sterling had said. "It's not at your level, my level." Malik had objected. "I have a doctorate in Mars atmospheric dynamics. On paper, yes, but practical experience is lacking. Maybe working in more junior positions would be more suitable." That day, Malik felt completely devastated. He had been working at NASA for 3 years, constantly being excluded, having his ideas stolen. Maybe Sterling was right, maybe he didn't belong there. That evening, his mother Denise called. She had immediately noticed the sadness in Malik's voice. "How are you, son?" "There's sadness in your voice." Malik told her everything. Denise listened for a long time, then said, "Malik, when you were a child, you wanted to go to Mars. Now you're doing the calculations that will take people to Mars. Don't quit this job. If you weren't there, who would inspire Black children? This isn't just your fight, it's all of ours." That conversation motivated Malik again. He wouldn't give up. This was a battle he was fighting not just for himself, but for future generations. At the beginning of 2022, NASA's biggest crisis erupted. The fuel consumption calculations critical for the Mars 2025 mission were completely wrong. The rocket would run out of fuel on the way to Mars, and the mission would fail. The multi-billion-dollar project was in danger. The problem was this: traditional rocket equations were inadequate for Mars's variable atmospheric conditions. The fuel consumption rate changed dramatically during atmospheric entry. Seasonal changes, dust storms, altitude differences, none were taken into account. Sterling was in panic. He was facing the biggest crisis of his career. He assigned 200 engineers and scientists to solve the problem. A 24-hour work schedule was started. Experts were brought from around the world. Professors from MIT, Caltech, and Stanford were called as consultants. Experts came from the European Space Agency. Retired engineers from the Russian space program were hired. An unprecedented concentration of brain power was created in NASA history. But despite 6 months passing, no solution could be found. Each passing day, the problem became more complex. The Mars 2025 mission was approaching the point of cancellation. Malik was completely excluded throughout this entire process. He wasn't invited to meetings, wasn't included in working groups. Sterling had told him, "This is a crisis situation, the senior team is handling it. You deal with routine calculations." This decision deeply wounded Malik. He had a doctorate in Mars atmosphere and had been studying this exact problem for 5 years. But no one was taking his opinion. Malik continued working at home. He would struggle with equations until late at night, spending weekends at the computer. His wife Angela constantly supported him. "You're very smart," Angela would say. "They know this but don't want to admit it. But don't give up. When the time comes, everyone will see your worth." At the beginning of October 2023, Malik experienced the moment that would change his fate. He had discovered the source of the problem. All calculations assumed Mars's surface atmospheric pressure as a constant value. But Mars's atmosphere was extremely variable. Seasonal changes, dust storms, altitude differences, polar ice cap variations, everything dramatically changed pressure. Traditional models didn't take these variables into account. That's why fuel calculations were wrong. Malik developed a revolutionary approach. He wrote an algorithm that calculated fuel consumption in real time using dynamic atmospheric modeling. This method considered variables like atmospheric pressure changes, temperature fluctuations, and density changes, optimizing fuel efficiency. The calculations were perfect. Mathematical proofs were flawless. The method shortened Mars travel time by 3 months and reduced fuel consumption by 40%. This discovery was revolutionary in space research. Malik wanted to present his findings to Sterling but couldn't get an appointment. His secretary constantly said, "Dr. Sterling is very busy, call later." His emails got no response. Phone calls were ignored. For 2 weeks he tried to reach Sterling. He couldn't get through in any way. Finally, Malik made a bold decision. He sent an email directly to NASA's External Advisory Board. Dr. Martinez, his former professor from MIT, was on the board. He shared his discoveries with her. Dr. Martinez was shocked. She examined the calculations in detail and confirmed their accuracy. "Malik, this is an incredible discovery. This is a paradigm shift in Mars research. We must present this to NASA management immediately," she said. Dr. Martinez contacted NASA Administrator Bill Nelson directly. "This is Dr. Martinez from MIT. One of your employees at NASA has found the solution to the Mars fuel problem. This is critical. You need to arrange an urgent meeting." A week later, Malik found himself at NASA headquarters. In the meeting room in Washington, D.C., were Administrator Nelson, Deputy Administrator Pam Melroy, the Mars Program Director, and the senior management team. Sterling was also there, looking very uncomfortable. "Dr. Jefferson," Administrator Nelson said in a serious tone, "we received information from Dr. Martinez about extraordinary findings. She says this discovery could save the Mars 2025 mission. Please give your presentation." Malik gave his presentation. He explained dynamic atmospheric modeling, presented mathematical proofs, and showed simulation results. The room fell completely silent. The calculations were brilliant, the solution elegant, and the results revolutionary. "Is this correct?" Deputy Administrator Melroy asked in amazement. "We've done independent verification," Dr. Martinez said determinedly. "Everything is perfectly consistent. This is probably the biggest breakthrough in space research in 50 years. Administrator Nelson turned to Sterling. Dr. Sterling, does Dr. Jefferson work on your team? Why didn't this solution come from you? There's been a crisis for 6 months. You can't solve it. But this man has solved it. Sterling began stammering. Well, Dr. Jefferson is in a junior position. We're working with the senior team, his contribution level. Dr. Jefferson, Nelson said in a stern tone. Were you included in this problem in your department? No, sir, Malik said determinedly. I was systematically excluded. I did this research in my personal time at home. I didn't use any department resources. Heavy silence fell in the room. Nelson's face hardened. Dr. Sterling, we need to have a private conversation. After the meeting, everything changed rapidly. Sterling was escorted out of NASA that day. Malik was appointed as the lead scientist for the Mars mission. His new position, lead scientist for Mars atmospheric dynamics research. NASA's official announcement shook the scientific world. Dr. Malik Jefferson's revolutionary atmospheric dynamics approach marks a new era in Mars research, the most important breakthrough in NASA history. Media interest was incredible. CNN, BBC, New York Times, Washington Post, everyone covered the story. Headlines like, Hidden Genius Saves Mars Mission, The Engineer They Ignored, and Brilliance Cannot Be Buried were seen everywhere. 60 Minutes did an interview with Malik. You knew you were being excluded. Why didn't you give up? The correspondent asked. Because I've had the dream of going to Mars since childhood, Malik had said. And I knew this wasn't just my story. I was fighting for the black children who would come after me. Sterling's end was tragic. The investigation found clear evidence of systematic discrimination. Stealing Malik's ideas, not inviting him to meetings, systematic undermining, everything was documented. He wasn't just fired from NASA, he was blacklisted in the aerospace industry. Now his LinkedIn says, former NASA engineer, and no one wants to hire him. The investigation within NASA revealed other discrimination cases as well. 5 more people were fired. New diversity protocols were implemented. The Mars 2025 mission concluded triumphantly with Malik's calculations. The first manned Mars landing took place in September 2025. Mission Commander Sarah Chen said, in the first transmission from Mars to Earth, this historic landing was made possible by Dr. Malik Jefferson's brilliant work. Without him, this moment would never have happened. The news was broadcast worldwide. Malik became a global celebrity overnight. His photo appeared on the cover of Time magazine, The Man Who Opened Mars. 6 months later, Malik received the National Medal of Science. President Biden said at the White House ceremony, Jefferson not only demonstrated scientific excellence, but also showed extraordinary perseverance in the face of adversity. He is living proof of the American dream. Today, Dr. Malik Jefferson is the director of NASA's Mars exploration program. On his office walls hang his MIT diploma, the National Medal of Science, and photos from the Mars mission. But what he's most proud of are the thank you letters from young scientists. Malik now manages diversity programs at NASA. He started a program called the Hidden Talent Initiative. He's trying to create a culture that values every employee's ideas. Junior engineers are ensured participation in senior meetings. That night in 2023, when I was doing calculations at home, Malik says now, I seriously considered giving up, but I realized this wasn't just for me. I was fighting for future generations. The first permanent colony on Mars will be established in 2028. The research station's official name has been determined as Jefferson Atmospheric Research Facility. Malik's name will be remembered forever in Mars history. Most importantly, Malik's story inspired thousands of young black scientists. Diversity at NASA has increased significantly. In 2018, 12 black scientists worked there. Now there are 67. Thanks to Malik's program. Malik's parents are still alive. Jerome is now retired, but he never gets tired of telling about his son's success. Denise still does cleaning work, but now she's known in the neighborhood as the mother of the NASA scientist. Sometimes, Malik says when speaking to young students, society can treat you as invisible. But remember, the greatest discoveries usually come from overlooked people. Patience, determination, and passion. With these 3 things, the impossible becomes possible. Malik has a special frame in his office. Inside hangs a photo of his childhood telescope, Below it reads, "Dreams have no color, but they need courage to come true." Every night when leaving his office, Malik looks at Mars. That red planet is now like his second home. "We made it, Dad," he says quietly. "We finally made it. Is there a Dr. Malik Jefferson inside you? Do you have overlooked but brilliant ideas? Remember, your time will come sooner or later. Keep working, keep believing, keep pushing boundaries. Because there's room in the universe for everyone, even for those society tries to forget."